Welcome to Club IDIC. Tonight, we will be watching Trials and Tribble-ations from Star Trek Deep Space Nine and discussing using time travel to save lives. Please enjoy this meeting. Hello, Teresa.
Hey,
How are you?
I've been sick.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I can't keep food or drinks down.
Oh, no.
I might mute myself if I have a little issue.
Well, that's okay.
Nobody wants to hear me hacking up a lung, so.
Oh, no. Well, this is a good night for this episode then, isn't it?
I love this episode. I have watched it, I don't know how many times, thousands probably.
Yeah. It's a good lighthearted episode with a very chilling premise, using time travel to save lives, even if you don't choose to.
I love when the guys from the, what's it called? The time temporal people come.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, they weren't supposed to be there, but the prophets in the Orb of Time kind of were like,
oh yeah. Every time I watch it, I know what's happening. I mean, I've got it memorized, but when the Enterprise shows up on the view screen, it's just, you know.
and Arne Darvin, can you imagine a Klingon living that long? We have an idea of the lifespan of Klingons now.
Oh, right? Yeah.
Oh, and no, we don't usually meet on a Saturday. I had medical appointment. I was coming home from medical appointments last night, though, so we couldn't meet, obviously.
Hey, I get it. I'm having 3 surgeries all back to back. The first 2 are going to be in less than 2 weeks.
Oh, no, I hope you're going to be okay.
You know, I'm a little stressed right now. They're removing a kidney and a lymph node to test it for cancer.
Oh, no.
So.
Oh, no. Well, I'll
Yeah.
definitely pray for you.
I appreciate it. Are we it? Like, there's nobody else here yet?
Yeah. But we can probably still have a good time with just the 2 of us. And I mean, I think so. I don't know if you think so, but I think so.
Yeah, I'm just kind of tired.
Well, we'll go slow and we can just, keep the discussion quiet. We can talk about good things.
This is one of my favorite all-time episodes.
That's really good. It is a very good episode. I will make a confession to you that might make you laugh. When I do my little Star Trek binges on my Netflix or my Crave, I don't watch all the episodes. I have a set amount of episodes that are my favorites, and I just watch those. I call it a day.
It depends on my mood. Like, there's some that I skip, like some of the heavy ones sometimes. If I'm not feeling great, I'll skip. So it just kind of depends on how I feel.
Yeah.
I do skip, I'm trying to think of the title. The one where they come, Sisko and Miles get stranded on the planet where they've got the device to keep electronics from working, and he gets put in that lockbox. You know what I'm talking about? I
Huh.
think it's got paradise in the title.
I'm
I
not
can't
as
think of
much
the
as a
title.
Star Trek expert as some other people that are in this group. I wish I was.
I do skip. I can't. The B story is good, but I just can't stand seeing Sisko suffering like that. He's my favorite. I just
Yeah.
can't stand it.
Oh, Sisko is my captain all the way. And yeah, it's just so hard for me to see Sisko suffer at all. But
I know, right? I mean, but I think it's because, I mean, the storyline with Deep Space Nine and the real character development, we didn't really get that with any of the other treks up until that point, you know? So it just it does something for me, being able to see that ongoing story.
I mean, Sisko's certainly gotten enough trouble with temporal investigations, but I do wonder, I have to ask myself this, and you, maybe we can come up with the answer together. Why on earth do we only see them now and not after past tense? Because Sisko got a man in history killed in past tense. And he put himself in a history book.
That part wasn't supposed to happen though.
No. And him and Julian had to be stupid and get in a fight with people who were not neurologically themselves, and hence they had to replace somebody in history that they were responsible for their death.
Yep.
So where was temporal investigations, and why were there no mentions of them then?
I think because they fixed the timeline. Maybe.
They did. But Sisko's face was right there.
Yeah.
And I suppose it was mentioned at the end, like, but
And it was mentioned in Little Green Men because when Julian and Miles gave Nog the handbook for Earth, and they were Quark and Rom and Nog were traveling to Earth, he pulled that up and said, "Uncle Quark, doesn't this guy look just like Captain Sisko?" And Quark says, "All humans look the same."
that
Yes,
just
I do watch it enough to have the dialogue memorized.
oh goodness, you're gifted, more gifted than I. Bless you.
No, only on certain episodes though, like the ones that I've watched so many times. But I love Little Green Men. I love the Ferengi episodes. And I think it's so weird that like people on some of the other Star Trek Deep Space Nine pages on Facebook don't like the Ferengi episodes. But I like them.
Well, I mean, Ferengi are interesting. Some don't like Ferengi because of how unethical they are, but I like the Ferengi because they're not afraid to be unique and live unique. But I'm like that. I like the unique characters.
Well, you know, I think the evolution of the Ferengi between the Next Generation and Deep Space Nine, we really got to see a different type of Ferengi. You know,
Yeah.
they weren't the pirates. They weren't the. I mean, when they went to rescue Moogie, you had a bunch of scared, cowardly Ferengi, and then you had Nog. You know, the Mr. Starfleet. But but I like them. I like you know, when Nog lost his leg and he's laying on the bed in the back of the cave, Quark a coward, if there ever was one, put himself between Nog and the entrance where the Jem'Hadar would be coming through.
Yeah.
And I just think, you know, Star Trek to me has always been about not judging an entire race by what you see in a small snippet, and we really did see a side of Quark. And you know, he rescued himself and Odo. You know, he had a side to him that was good, you know.
Well, as far as Nog goes, I think Quark saw himself as sort of a second father to Nog, because Nog didn't have a mother. Nog's mother left.
Absolutely. And when the Skria came through and those Skrian boys were trying to fight Nog, it wasn't Rom that ran out on the promenade to rescue Nog. It was Quark. I mean,
Yeah.
he jumped and ran. He didn't pause. He didn't think. He just ran.
Well,
and I think he really was more of a family man than he ever cared to admit.
I mean, maybe it was such that, I don't know. I mean, as much as Quark said he probably didn't want to get married, maybe he wanted to get married, but maybe he couldn't have children, and so he saw Nog as his child, and he didn't want anybody to ever know that he couldn't have children, and because that was unprofitable in Ferengi society or something.
I don't know about that. I think that he really and truly, I cannot think of her name, the Cardassian woman.
Natima?
Yes, I think he really and truly loved her. And
oh, I'm sure he loved her, but it's like,
you know, she wasn't ready for that. And
Cardassians, like, you know, Cardassians are meant to play specific roles in the universe, and I think she was very aware of this, and I think she was aware that she'd be looked down upon if she were to lower her social personal standards by getting involved with the Ferengi. The Ferengi were looked down upon by the Cardassians, most likely.
You know, she was a rebel. I don't even think it's that. I think she was so into this movement to make a change in Cardassia.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. I think she felt like that was more important than her own happiness.
Yeah. All right, take your time.
Oh man.
That's all right. Take your time. I'll do some talking for now. So anyway, this episode is very interesting because, like, it starts out with the Temporal Investigation people arriving, and oh, look we have our resident expert with us tonight. We have Jake. So happy to see Jake because he probably knows everything there is to know about Trek because of his special list. Hi, Jake.
Hello.
Welcome to our Tribble party.
Hello.
Hello. And he brought baby. And you know what, Teresa? I have something that will cheer you up. I'll bring a couple of the farm down from the shelf. How about that?
Okay.
I'll get you some interesting. I'll bring the big people. We'll bring the adults down from the farm. These are the Tribble adults from the Tribble farm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Never seen those colors before.
Yeah, most of them I got at Star Trek Las Vegas. We've
Hey,
appeared in music videos that are available on YouTube.
have
Yeah,
I
they're-
introduced you to Major Kira Nerys Bun Bun?
No.
Oh my gosh. Alex,
How are you, Jake?
Alex, I have
I'm
people that
fine.
need
How
to
are
meet
you?
Kira. Bring her here, hurry.
I think I'll put these
They will
guys
love her.
down. I'm all right. Like, how's life?
Oh, life is good.
Yeah,
Same old, same old.
same old, same old. Tonight we're watching Trials and Tribble-ations, and I just thought it was time for a lighthearted episode, and it fits with the theme.
While we're waiting on the since I'm packing to move, I have Dr. McCoy's med kit.
Oh, that's fun. So you found a place then?
I think so.
Here,
Hey,
hey,
come here, woman.
be careful. She got mad when she saw me.
Oh, is you mad, bunny?
Oh, yes, she is.
Is you mad, bunny?
There.
Why is you mad, bunny? Look at you.
Oh, this is pet night. Oh. Anyway, yeah, it's really good to see you, Jake. We don't normally meet on Saturday, but
Yeah. Sorry, I've been MIA for a few weeks.
well, we've missed you.
Concerts and other things.
Well, that's good. Like, that's always good to get out and see real life. That's really nice.
So I've had these tickets since like May of 2021, I think.
Hey. What did you do?
You have a transporter at your house? What was that?
Thing, and
Well-
now I can't see anybody. Ah, here we go.
Oh, hey, there's your kid. Aw, look at this.
Where's
bunny.
everybody? First things first.
Her name is Major Kira Nerys Bun Bun because she is sassy and dangerous.
That's awesome.
She's a rescue bunny. She was so mistreated that for at least 3 years of her life, she was kept in a cage with a bowl of water and a bowl of pellets, and that's it. She never got fresh stuff. She never got to go outside for walks or to play. I know, and now she's spoiled rotten. It didn't take very long, did it? We've almost had her for a year now.
That's amazing. I believe, Jake, you said once that Baby was a rescue, correct?
Kind of. So she didn't really have it bad. So she lived with the family, and I guess the family. The other cats in the family mistreated her.
Oh,
So I guess they bullied her a lot. So her human parents decided that she'd be happier somewhere else. So they gave her to me basically for free. So
would you stop trying to eat my pillow? Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we think that Kira was pretty abused too, because for a long time, if you went to like reach for her, she would cower. But she's kind of gotten over that now.
Okay, that's not. Go with me.
Bye, Kira.
That's so cute.
Bye, Kira.
Thanks for sharing.
All right, Amy, here you go.
Mm. But I think she totally matches personalities with Kira,
Oh, yes.
because she will defend herself. but she's getting better. Like when we first got her, she was biting all the time. But I think she was abused. Like I think they used the brush to hit her because for 6 months I could not brush her out. She would grab the brush from me and throw it as far as she could. So I don't know why people abuse animals,
I don't know.
especially like a helpless bunny. I mean, like, seriously. I don't know.
I
It's
don't
not in
know.
my nature.
Anyway, so this episode is a very pleasant one, and there's fighting and skullduggery and lying, but it's all in the name of saving lives.
I love how they were able to like digitally put Bashir and Miles into the fight. And
Yeah,
I love O'Brien going, I lied to Kirk.
I like to
I
Captain
lied
Kirk.
to Captain Kirk. I love it.
I can't wait to tell Keiko.
I know. Oh,
But it's like, of course, it had to be O'Brien and Bashir that were I can't say that word. But of course, it had to be them inserted into the infamous bar fight with the
of
Klingons.
course. I love it though, because I love how the one guy went over and he got his drinks and he managed to keep them safe through the whole fight. And then somebody took his drink when he got to the door. That was great.
That was great. But you know what's wrong with this picture? Like Odo and Worf were literally sitting at a nearby table and they did nothing. They just took off.
Well, because they saw Darvin.
Yeah, but it's like, hello, are you just going to let O'Brien and
Yep.
Bashir fry?
Yep, they sure were.
It's hilarious. Like, of course, those two would be the two to get into trouble when they're just supposed to be on a simple time preservation mission.
Yep. I liked Worf fighting the other Klingons. Because, you know, the new and improved Klingons are bigger and stronger.
Well, that
And he
was when
put
the
those
Klingons were
in-
sick. That's when they were going through that
Right.
virus. That's why they had no riches.
But it was still, I thought that was cool.
And Worf's not against fighting other Klingons. He
Oh,
fought
no.
Drex in another episode, I do believe. Son of Martok.
Well, and even on TNG, how many times did they face off the Klingons? in
That's
Enterprise?
Like, if he sees another Klingon acting dishonorably, he's not afraid to turn them into paste.
That's true. Or take their knife and force their dad to come and talk to him.
Yeah.
And you know, Martok took him into his house, right? But you
Yeah.
never see any other confrontation between Martok's son and Worf.
Well, that's true.
I
But
feel like there should have been, I feel like there should have been something there. Like we should have gotten something.
well, I think it's the Klingon society is very much patriarchal in that if the father says something
It
like
goes.
that, if they make a decision, I'm taking this person into our house, you don't question it because the father said it and that's it. Father's
That's
word is
true.
law.
Very true.
Oh, Jake, we're leaving you out. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Sorry, I like to talk. So
Sorry, Jake. Do you want to jump in?
Quite okay.
well, what's your favorite part of the episode, Jake?
Mm, Dax ogling Spock. That's always a funny scene.
And Sisko thinking she was talking about Kirk.
Mhm. So, and I'm with you. I was just impressed with how they were able to digitally insert like all the characters into the episode. I mean, and this was like in the mid to late 90s.
Exactly.
So it's nowhere easy to do back then as it is now. But
True. I still love, my favorite is the end when Benjamin Sisko got to shake hands with Captain Kirk. I mean, come
And
on.
he snuck to the command chair for an autograph. I don't know if that went next to his baseball or what.
Hey.
And Temporal Investigations were like, oh, well, we're just going to let you get away with that because, oh, there was no harm done.
Well, only one of the guys. The other guy gave him a dirty look, remember?
But it was nothing more like, oh, you got his autograph, so what, right?
Hey, you know?
and then at the tail end, you see all the trills on the station, and they're like, okay, well, who's going to tell Temporal Investigations about this?
Right. Well, see, it leaves you wondering how they got them off the station. Like, I would have liked to see something about how difficult it was to get them off the station.
Do we really want to know that? Because that can lead to all sorts of dark conclusions.
See, I like to imagine that they found a planet and started a new Tribble homeworld. You know, because the Klingons eradicated their homeworld in the Great Tribble Hunt.
That's true.
But I'm thinking it would be a lot harder to get them off Deep Space Nine. It's much bigger than K7. And initially, Kirk got them off the Enterprise by transporting them to the Klingon ship. So they didn't have any Klingon ships to transport all the Tribbles to.
Well, so they do have the Defiant. They could load all the Tribbles up into the Defiant and take them off to like some planet or something, and then beam them all down.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, I don't know. I like to think that that's what they did because I can't see Sisko killing them.
No.
So I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. Sisko really just like they showed different. They showed a very intriguing, you know, them dressing to fit into the past and all that. I liked that, how it wasn't so easy for them to just hop on over. They had to prepare.
Well, of course. I mean, if they had just shown up like they were, that would cause some eyebrows to raise more than just Spock's. But I don't know. It's just one of my all-time favorites. I love it. I love the original.
Oh yeah, the original. Yeah. I thought about bringing in both of them for us to watch, but you know, let's just do one at a time, and we can still see the original as it is on this. So it's not like we're missing much, and we all know the story. So
yeah.
And you know, time travel. How interesting was this? That Arne Darvin actually. How on earth? This is very interesting. How on earth did Arne Darvin end up with the Deep Space Niners, like a human merchant trapped on Cardassia when the Klingons attacked? I mean, how on earth did nobody pick up that he wasn't actually a human merchant with all the technology that Cardassia has?
Well, they had no reason to doubt. I mean, I highly doubt they did a medical scan of every merchant that came through. He played it low key, didn't bring attention to himself.
I know, but with all the agents and everything on Cardassia, like you can't even take a pee without getting detected if you're different than Cardassian. Even the Cardassians were subject to security because of the government there.
Yeah, but that was their own citizens. So I kind of feel like because he was a off-world merchant, he was an old man by that point. Because, I mean, what was it? 100 years had passed. Something like that. I mean, he was old, so. And he wanted to get back in the good graces of the Klingon Empire. So all he wanted was his statue, with Kirk's head and a tribble, you know, so he wanted that glory.
Yeah.
And Kirk prevented him from having that the first time. So, and he had plenty of time to plan his revenge, so.
Yeah, but it's like they didn't do any, they just let him on the ship, like with a very valuable artifact, and didn't like confine him to quarters or anything. They just let him there, and like they didn't do any regulations.
They had the orb in the crew quarters, and they had a guard. And he overpowered the guard, remember?
Yeah, but it's like to take a civilian on the same ship as a valuable object, it's like, don't you have any precautions in place for the civilian? I mean, this is not a civilian transport normally, right?
Right. But I think they assumed he wouldn't know anything about the orb. They didn't know he was aware of it. And at that point, they still didn't know if it was a real orb or a fake. So I think they were reasonably sure that it would be safe in the crew quarters. But
I mean,
I'm curious how he knew how to use it. Like, how did he know how to use the orb to get to the exact point in time that he needed to go to be there?
That's true. And why did the prophets let him do it? Sisko's the emissary. Why didn't the prophets warn Sisko, hey, this dude is going to be trouble. Do not let him on your ship. Do not let him near the orb. He's going to be trouble, and take you with him.
Well, see, the prophets, they had an unusual way of doing things. You know, they had a plan for Sisko, but in the Emissary, the very first episode, they were discussing killing him. They said that he was too hostile.
Well, he was.
So,
He was.
I mean, was that part of their plan to like wake him up, or, you know, it just seems like they have a weird way of doing things sometimes. Like Sisko had to talk them into keeping the Dominion ship fleets from coming through the wormhole.
He was too hostile in the beginning because his wife had died and he didn't know how to move beyond it, and he was angry about it. He let his anger rob him of life, and so the prophets had to teach him a lesson. Like, do you value your anger over your own life and your own future?
Right.
Do you love yourself enough to fight for your life? Or are you just going to let this anger smash you to crap?
And he knew the Enterprise was there. And he had a very deep hatred towards Picard. I mean, I don't blame him.
But that wasn't Picard.
Picard was not himself. But I understand that. But I also understand, I mean, they were young. They had a young son. I mean, they were practically newlyweds. And I understand that very strong feeling, and it's hard to separate that and say, well, it wasn't really Picard, it was the Borg. I mean, I can see that being a difficult thing to accept.
Yeah. But I don't know if you've read the novelization, like you see Jake's point of view about his father and like how Sisko was there. He did things, but he wasn't really alive.
And I think that's a very good way of putting it, because he wasn't living, he was surviving.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that really gave him a whole new perspective, because he changed, and then he changed again, because he was always very uncomfortable being an emissary until he wasn't.
Yeah, I remember that one guy showed up and said, "Oh, I am the emissary," and that was not really the case. That was a test from the prophets to get Sisko to accept the role and embrace it and do what he needed to do in the role.
And you notice the prophets never referred to him as the emissary. They called him the Sisko. But they never called him the emissary.
Well, at the end, the one, I think, what is her name? That one lady did at the end, Emissary, the book.
Oh, well, I haven't read those.
No, that's in the final episode.
Sarah?
No, at the fire caves. At the priestess.
Wynn.
Yeah.
High Wynn.
Yeah, I couldn't remember her name. Sorry, Jake.
But yeah, but the prophets themselves never said emissary. That's what I was saying.
We're getting so deep into this. I love this. Anyway, you are getting tired. Jake, do you have any other thoughts?
No, not really. I just
So how about, yes?
Just listening to you guys.
How about this? Since we don't want to wear Teresa out and we're running out of things to say, how about we take a little break and watch the episode, and we will probably have more things to say when we are done.
Hey, I don't mind. I've only watched it about 4 times this year, so.
Well, then it's a good time to watch it for a fifth.
I will
Okay.
never say no to Trouble with Tribbles or Trials and Tribble-ations.
Yeah, we're just watching the one for now, but when you get, if you can manage to get Paramount Plus at some point, then we will go back to the TOS and have TOS out the ears. Because I love TOS too.
Oh, I know. Well, my son's watched most of TOS. So my hope is that he and I can start at the beginning of Voyager and watch all the way through.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, let me know. And if you have any ideas for episodes you want to watch, we have a few in the schedule, but I do take suggestions. So, yeah. Anyway, take a breather. We will start the episode.
Awesome.
Any questions, throw them in the chat.
All right.
Trials and Tribble-ations from Deep Space Nine. All right, see you after.
Okie doke.
That was a lovely episode, wasn't it? Nice and lighthearted.
I love every bit of it. There's no part that's not my favorite.
Yeah. I thought everybody could just use a lighthearted moment of Star Trek history, just considering everything that's going on in the world and in people's lives. Why not just take a moment of joy?
Oh yeah, definitely. But there's such good actors that every scene is a great scene.
Yeah.
But I particularly like when Miles shot Julian the look when he's talking about that if he doesn't meet with Lieutenant Watley, he may never be born. And he couldn't wait to see the look on Miles's face when he got back to Deep Space Nine and realized that Julian had never existed.
And bad boy Julian, couldn't he just keep himself under control when they were back in time? They weren't back in time for very long. I mean, come on.
Well, you know.
I mean, for once he could stop being a ladies' man and just focus on the mission.
Yeah, you know. He did have an eye for the ladies.
Yeah, but I mean, they got the mission done, but you know, it was such a hard bit of work to begin with.
Yeah, you know.
It's like they got there and they had to dress in the period costumes and behave as the period people would. I mean, and of course, the Temporal Investigation guys were like, once they heard it was James T. Kirk, the worst temporal violator in Starfleet history. Really? You want to discuss him?
I don't know. I think one of my favorites is when they're still aboard the Defiant before they transport over, and Miles asks Julian, "Don't you know anything about this time frame?" And he says, "I'm a doctor, not a historian."
Bones to the hilt.
Absolutely. But see, my dad's name was Jim, and he had a cat named Bones.
Oh,
I know, it was the greatest
that
thing.
is so awesome.
I loved it.
But you know, at least we still have someone willing to play the part of Bones if they ever get another movie out.
Yeah.
Like Carl Urban, he's pretty good at Bones.
Man, you just can't beat the classic.
No, you can't. But we still have that in the form of the episodes. They may be a little harder to find, but they're still there.
Yeah. I love the country doctor feel of
Yeah.
Dr. McKenzie. I mean, that's what I grew up with, you know?
Oh, D. Kelly, you know, when I actually watched Star Trek and I wanted to meet him and then I found out he was dead, I was so sad.
I know. I did get to meet George Takei, though.
Oh, yeah, so did I. Him and Brad are lovely.
I was so blown away. And I don't remember if I've shared this with you guys or not, but we went to a convention, a friend of mine and myself, we were teenagers, and after the convention was over, the hotel just cleared, man. And we were still there waiting on our ride. And he came and sat with us and talked to us just like we were old friends and waited until our ride got there. And my friend just sat there yapping it up. And I was so fangirl struck that I couldn't participate, which is too bad because he was great.
Oh, George.
And looking back on it now as an adult and as a parent, it gives me a whole new respect for him because he saw two teenage kids just sitting there in a busy hotel in Oklahoma City and he just hung out with us.
So awesome.
He didn't have to do that.
It's so awesome. Hi, welcome back, Jake.
Thank you. Yeah, not sure what happened. My laptop lost like internet temporarily.
Oh no. Well, we finished watching and now we didn't get very far into discussion. And you know, we were just talking about Star Trek and different points in the episode that we liked. And so you didn't miss much. Yeah, so
Yeah, so I love the scene where Dax is giving the math and how many triples there
Mhm.
are, and then like 10 minutes later, Spock is giving the same.
like, how does Dax manage to calculate that or in her head so quickly? Is that all her host is doing the math for her?
Well, I think she's a genius in and of herself. I mean, she got her degrees and everything prior to being joined. So I do think that she's a very smart woman all on her own.
That's true. But having a few extra lives doesn't hurt because she has all their knowledge too.
Absolutely. I think it's just great how she's able to just pull that knowledge whenever she needs it.
Yeah. It's like, you know, Dax really wanted to go and be a part of the action, like in the action, but Sisko just was very much aware of Dax's impulsive nature, and he's like, oh, I gotta keep a little bit of a rein on this to make sure that
I
she
love
doesn't
it.
do anything about the timeline. Then what about his
Exactly.
other officers just diving in and screwing with the timeline themselves?
And he drug her around, grabbed her by the hand, and just drug her. It's funny.
Like a kid in a candy store.
Hey, you know. But basically, she was. I mean, she was so romantically, you know, she's just so excited to be there, and
That's
she
true.
had romanticized the whole time period. So,
Well, her host was part of the time period, so she had the host's memories, and so she was like, "Oh, I remember this." And Sisko was like, "Okay, well, we're not here for you to romanticize and for you to be back in this time period. We're here to save Kirk from being killed and history being screwed beyond screwed.
oh, exactly.
So you need to focus so we can get this done." And I know you want to check out Spock and tell us how cool he is, and I know you want to do this and this and this, but we have to focus. Jake,
I guess
yes.
I was just gonna say, I guess any of us, with given the option of going back in our history to a time that we enjoyed, that man, that'd be so cool, and it'd be so tempting to jump right back in there.
Yeah, that's really, I mean, if we could, I'm sure, yes, we have addressed this question, but honestly, if we were given a time machine, what would we do with it? Or if we were given an orb and like given a choice, would we actually use that to go do that?
Man, that's tough.
I
That is
mean,
tough.
if we could go back to like one moment in history, like they went back to one moment in history to change something that went wrong or to stop somebody else from making a disastrous decision, would we do it?
And then you would have temporal investigations knocking on your door.
Probably. Because if you alter one thing, then another thing gets inadvertently altered, and then you end up changing a huge amount of history. It's like the Back to the Future effect.
Right.
So,
Ow.
you okay?
Yeah, I just hit my head on the shelf behind me.
Ouch.
I do it at least a dozen times a night, so I'll live.
Yeah. Okay.
At least from that.
I mean, and you're right. We don't know how Arne Darvin managed to get that crazy orb to work, but he did. And then he wiped the transporter log. He's thinking, aha, I'm going to get to do this and get away with it. And then everybody's going to be screwed and I'm going to be the hero.
That's all he wanted was the glory. But isn't that what most Klingons want, is the glory and the honor?
They want the glory for their house
Yes.
and for the Klingon Empire. Darvin wanted the glory for himself.
Well, yeah.
He didn't care about the Klingons.
No.
He was pissed at Kirk and wanted to kill Kirk and wanted revenge, and he didn't really think about anybody but himself or the consequences of doing what he wanted to do.
Well, and the Klingons turned their backs on him.
Yeah, well, they're not about selfish action, and they're not about selfish
Well, he failed
nature
in
or
his
selfish.
mission. His mission was to prevent the colony from happening, and he failed.
Like, believe it or not, Kirk had a hand in, as much as Kirk didn't want to have a hand in bringing peace between Klingons and Federation, helping that. Like, the Klingons killed his son, and I will speak that. Like, Kirk had a hand in that, and if Kirk were killed, there wouldn't be any peace.
No.
Because Kirk is the one that went to Kittimer and prevented the president from being killed and spoke to Azadbor about the need for peace and how peace was the undiscovered country. In the sixth movie.
Yeah.
And this is how much of a geek I am that I remember all this.
Hey.
I promise to God this, yeah.
So I'm right there with you.
And I promise to God this will be on the schedule. I just got to figure out a good month. Because I love the undiscovered country.
Yeah, I'll have to get it from the library because I have not seen that in so many years.
Oh, it is such a good movie. But, you know, it's like the effect, like Kirk would not be around to help foster that peace if Arne Darvin had succeeded in this episode or in the original episode in Trials and the Trouble with Tribbles. Like, Kirk would not have been around had this plan succeeded. So you have to think about it. Like, this was very vital. And I don't know if the prophets knew that Arne Darvin was going to come, and I don't know why they didn't warn Sisko, but maybe they did. Maybe that's why they just allowed Arne to take the orb and use it and let Sisko have the experience so they could just catch him. I'm not sure.
Well, it's such an uncharacteristic move for the Cardassians to contact Sisko to give back the orb. Remember, they were trying to get the orb that the Bajorans still had. They thought they had all of them. So that was a very uncharacteristic move on their part. So it seems like it would have had to been orchestrated, because I don't think that would have been something that they just did out of the kindness of their heart.
Well, why do I feel like Garak is somehow involved even though we don't see him? Why do I feel that?
Because he had his tailor's kit in everybody's business, right?
Yeah, it's like, you know, Garak could have like been, oh, you know, I know this is going on. Maybe I should, you know, help them out, and maybe the Federation will help me later.
Well, I think he was always trying to get into the good graces of the Cardassian government again, because he felt like he was very wrongly exiled, and all he wanted to do was return home.
Mm-hmm.
And he even said, you know, in the last episodes, he said that he had dreamed of the day that he would come back and live in that house with Mila, and then it was destroyed.
And Mila was killed.
So, but I think
but he still did return home.
He not only returned home, he returned home to be the leader to restore Cardassia.
He did, but you know, the most interesting scene, like in that end movie, and I know we're getting way off topic, but I don't care. Like, the most interesting scene in that whole finale is between like Garak and Bashir, and I don't know why that's in there. The two of them alone talking as if they're breaking up some relationship. It's like maybe it's an apology to the fans for what wasn't allowed to happen earlier. I'm not sure. It seems so odd and out of place, but yet it seems like it belongs there too.
Well, I mean, all the way in the beginning, Garak is the one that reached out to Bashir. And he knew he had information that he could not go to the Federation directly with. So he found a way to give that information to Dr. Bashir so that Sisko could prevent a problem from
That's
happening.
true, but the intimacy of it all, it started with the shoulder touch, and then seeing it ended with the shoulder touch. It just felt very, it was such an odd scene to include, but it was a perfect scene to include because like all the fans, like since that probably aired originally, all the fans have been screaming, why couldn't we have this relationship?
Yeah, I've heard a lot of that, but
Anyway, we are so off topic, but this is so fun.
So I'm going to take a quick restroom break. I'll be back in a few.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So
have you seen the videos that were done between Andrew Robinson and Sid?
A few. I'm not.
I haven't seen all
sure
of
how
them.
many.
It's very. There's definitely a lot there that you could spend a lot of time.
Yeah, I
unboxing.
might. There's a lot of tricky things online like that I haven't really taken the time to go in depth about, and maybe I should. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like anytime I start watching one of those videos that's very long, I get interrupted. So, oh man.
Well, it's just, I don't know. It's, I write a lot. I don't spend a lot of time watching super long videos on YouTube, and it's kind of hard. This is like play season, and I will probably be preparing for my play really in depth really soon, but I'll still be here hosting this, and I don't really focus on a lot of Trekkie social clubs other than this, and so maybe someday.
Yeah.
But
I wish I had more time to put into like the videos and the books and stuff. I used to go to the library every single week and get like 8 of the novels and read those every week. But I just don't have time for that kind of stuff anymore.
yeah.
Oh, Alex, my back is killing me, man.
And the irony is this episode was all about time.
I know, right?
Trying to save somebody's life while trying to preserve a timeline. And it's like, how stressed this crew must have been. They had to pretend to be people that they weren't, and they had to pretend to fit in a time where they didn't belong. And really, especially Odo and Worf being aliens, they had to cover up what made them different, and they had to pretend to know how to behave in that time period because things were different in their time period than in the time period that they were in. Like they really had to make sure they weren't discovered.
And it's like Odo ordering a Raktajino. Clearly he didn't think about the fact that they wouldn't have a Klingon beverage on a Federation space station at that point in time.
Because the Federation and Klingons were not at peace at the moment. And Odo, when he said that, and the waitress said, "We don't have any Klingon beverages." And Odo's like, "Oh crap, I made a mistake."
Oh man.
Jake, are we neglecting you? You can jump in at any time if you like.
No, it's okay. So my tea is in the microwave, so I need to hop up in a minute or so to go grab that.
Oh, that sounds awesome. Tea is always wonderful. You know what? We were just talking about the drinks that they got on the K7 station
Mm-hmm.
and how Odo accidentally ordered the Klingon coffee before he suddenly ordered the tea and realized that they wouldn't have Klingon beverages on the station.
And
So is
slightly
it
off.
Earl Grey tea? You drinking Earl Grey tea?
No, I'm drinking chai tea. So yeah, I'm not Picard, so I don't drink Earl Grey tea.
I love it. It's not my top favorite, but I do love it.
Hmm.
So I just like the spices in chai tea.
Me too. I love the vanilla chai. That's my favorite.
I like hibiscus or peppermint or lemon.
Yeah, I don't like lemon in my tea, and I don't like peppermint.
Oh, well.
I know, I'm so picky.
I drank bubble tea for the first time when I was staying at my hotel for my medical appointments this weekend. I ordered Japanese food because I like California roll sushi. And I ordered some peach bubble tea.
That sounds good.
Oh, it was really good. I was really excited by it.
We used to get authentic Korean food all the time because when Alex was a toddler, we were going to a church that also had a Korean service. And so the Korean ladies cooked an authentic Korean meal every week. And they spoiled that child. They fed him Korean stuff all the time. So just leave it in there, baby.
Yeah. I need to try more different types of food. Maybe since pandemics, maybe slowing down a tiny bit, I can. I don't know. I like sushi though, that like California rolls the most. Like my mom and I can just go to town on California rolls all the time.
I don't like fish of any kind.
Oh, she's weird though. She'll eat tons of wasabi without a problem.
Ugh, nope, not me.
And she'll eat
I'll
those
be
little
right back.
salmon things. I don't mind them, but they're not my favorite.
Well, Passover's coming up, so my son will be eating some salmon.
Oh, the
Not.
chai bread, right? Is that where you eat the chai bread?
The matzah.
I think so. I don't know much about Passover. And the unleavened.
Yeah, unleavened crackers. Yeah. But
Well, yeah, Easter's coming up.
it's my favorite holiday because it's all about food. Like most Jewish holidays, it's all about food. But I'll be right back.
Okay. So it's very interesting. Like this episode, Jake, it's like, they really they struggled to fit into that time where they didn't belong and they didn't really know much about. They had to struggle with the uniforms, the communicators.
So yeah, I love the comment about the uniform switching colors. Because I've always wondered about that stuff. Why did they switch colors? But and then Sisko is like trying to tap his comm badge and it's not working, and then Dax is just sitting looking at it, just smirking.
Yeah, it's like, and they tried to use the turbo lift by using their voice instead of the little sticks that hang out of the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Technology really progressed between the times of TOS and DS9, but they weren't used to it. Like people in the Star Trek universe take technology for granted, and what was them if they ever have to struggle with a lack of technology, right?
Well, I don't know. We kind of struggle too. I mean,
Yeah.
what do you think people would do if you took away Facebook for a week?
Well, I actually went, I think was it a couple of years ago that I went on a Facebook fast for 10 days because social media
That's-
fast.
So that's willingly. What happens unwillingly? Willingly and unwillingly are two different things, because you're not going to, when you do it willingly, you're not going to take to it as well. Or if you do it unwillingly, you're not going to take to it as well as when it's willingly.
Well, some of my mother's relatives they live in like the sticks in places where internet is not accessible. So there you really have no choice. And I didn't want to go fighting for internet and miss out on experiences with my relatives either. So
Yeah, but you know what you're getting into.
actually I didn't.
You know that.
They were really in the sticks. But I'm probably missing the point of your question, so I'll just stop.
Okay.
Hi. We were talking about like what would happen if we suddenly found ourselves in a different, more primitive time without the conveniences of technology, like the DS9 crew did when they arrived in the TOS time.
Or when they arrived at that planet that had no technology.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I would be okay because I was pretty old before I got a computer or internet or cell phone. So, but I mean, it can be hard. After my car accident, I was in the hospital for a month, 2 hours away from my nearest family member. I didn't have a cell phone. So I laid in the hospital bed and watched Food Network. That's what I did for a month. But we didn't have any kind of cable or anything growing up. We didn't have any kind of game systems or anything. We played in the sandbox and played with our bikes and made food out of sand. You get it wet, get it dry, and then turn it into donuts and burgers and
Mud pies.
Well, our thing was we had this ongoing competition for who could make the best looking sand donut without it breaking. So yeah, that's what we did.
I love that. Did you ever do anything like that, Jake?
So I don't recall ever making food of sand, but I did make like all kinds of tunnels and stuff. But I had a sandbox growing up, and there was like all kinds of like hand-sized tunnels, like going all throughout the sandbox. They're just fun, just sticking in my hand and then just digging.
Sounds so fun.
We used to bury stuff so that we could come back and discover it later. So there's probably still some hot rods and stuff in there, Hot Wheels and stuff. Yeah, there's probably still some toys in there.
Yeah, that's why geocaching was invented, so people could go find their treasures.
But, I mean, there were 5 of us and we were homeschooled. So my dad was the only one that worked outside of the home. So we had his paycheck. So we did not do a lot of splurging on things like we made do with what we had.
Exactly. I mean, that's what
and we played with a lot of sticks and rocks and stuff. So We used to go crawdad fishing all the time
Oh, yum.
so that we could use, well, I say we, us girls would do the crawdad fishing the day before the guys went on a fishing trip, but we didn't really care for the fishing trip. So.
Hmm.
And my grandparents had a pond with an island in the middle. And so we did some sketchy things to make bridges to cross over to the island. And looking back, somebody should have broken an arm or a leg or something the way we
Oh,
riding the bikes with no brakes down this real steep hill. You know. But that's what we did. And then there were kittens, feral kittens at my grandparents' house. So we were always trying to catch the kittens, and we thought we could turn them into pets. It never worked, but we tried. Every time we were there, we tried to catch the kittens.
honestly, with adventures like that, who really needs holodecks, right?
Hey, man, my grandma had a pour table. You know what that is?
What?
A pour table.
The poor table.
So it's this very long table that separates out, and in the middle there's this bucket where you have this the stuff that you make ceramics out of, and they called it green because it was kind of the consistency of clay. And grandma would let us play with the scraps, and we'd make stuff, and she'd fire it up, and we'd make little gifts for family members. So yeah, not a lot of kids get to do that. So that was always fun.
That sounds really nice.
Oh yeah, when we got a little bit older, we were allowed to use the molds and make like cats and dogs and rabbits and stuff, you know. So I remember one of the first things that I did all by myself was Thumper from Bambi. And I was so proud of that. And it's somewhere in my mom's attic. But I was so proud of that because I must have been like 10-ish. And I did it all by myself. And I just thought I was hot stuff, man. But yeah, I mean, I guess there would be some difficulty going back. I mean, if we went back in time with all the knowledge that we have now, to go back and not mess things up, I think that would be difficult. I mean, I guess I
Sorry,
could
these
live.
little buggers are noisy. I turned them on. These little buggers make noise. Did you know that?
The first time I saw one was at a convention in Oklahoma City. But even
Come on.
way back then, they were like $50, and that was a little out of my price range.
Oh, this one vibrates a lot too. I love that. Oh. My mom has a couple, and literally she keeps them in her bedroom. Sorry, I wanted to see if they still work. I turned them off at the airport when I bought them.
You know, I was wondering at the end when they go out over the whole promenade and you see all of the tribbles everywhere. Are those the same tribbles that they used for the original series?
I don't know, I'm sure they got extra ones, and that one just went for a fly ride, so I'll just not go get it. So I'll just put this one on my shoulder for a minute. I don't know, like, tribbles are probably easier to get and make when they made the Deep Space Nine episode. I don't know if they had them in the 50s or the 60s.
Well, I mean, they showed a lot of them in the episode. So
Yeah, like this, like, I don't know if I've ever told you what I did at the Star Trek convention in 2016 and 2017. I looked after a pile of these guys that Creation Entertainment provided me and CBS provided me,
oh, cool.
as this was still when CBS had the license. Like, and Creation had the CBS license for making the Trek conventions. And like, I bought this one from tribletoys.com. Like, they had a booth at the Star Trek convention. They probably still do. I just haven't been in a couple of years. And I don't know where they got the tribbles, but you know, it was like people came and they took pictures with them and the little kids got to play with them, and it was enjoyable for many. And I don't know where all the tribbles came from. Maybe it was a computer thing.
Could be. You know, the original series, the episode where everybody was being turned into those little blocks of salt.
Sort of. I don't profess to be a Trek expert like both of you, but
Okay, so that whole episode came about. Gene Roddenberry was in Mexico on vacation, and he found these styrofoam things, and they were really cheap. So he got to spend like a week without having to pay a whole bunch of the staff. I read in his biography that whole episode was written around those things that he brought back from Mexico. I thought that was kind of funny that the
That's
episode was
awesome.
written after the prop was bought.
So was that the episode where the aliens from the Andromeda Galaxy, or was it a different one?
I don't remember where they were from, but like they were turning the crew members into these little blocks.
Yep, yep, that's the one. So, because that's what a lot of people were wondering about the Tennessee, if that was the, yeah, because they were both from outside the galaxy. So it was. So I think one of the few times in Star Trek they actually went outside the galaxy, because those aliens forced the crew of the Enterprise to take them through the Great Barrier, and like some of the episode is kind of fun just because you can you see the Enterprise warping towards Andromeda. It was fun. But
I think it's amazing what they pulled off with the low budget that they had, you know, and just the primitive stuff that they had back then.
mhm.
I mean, they didn't have everything, you know, today they can make an entire movie out of computer generated stuff, and it's so realistic looking. Like they didn't have that kind of technology back then. So
and they also had to fight for their budget back at the time of the original series because the networks really didn't believe in them. They had to fight for their second season and their third season because of
yeah.
fans peppering the crap out of the studios with letters.
And oh my god, I just lost her last name. I Love Lucy.
Lucy Ball.
She really fought for Star Trek. She was a Trekkie.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of cool too.
Yeah, I didn't know about that until like a few years ago. And when I heard about that, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
And John and Bajo Trimble, oh, they did a lot. They're Star Trek royalty, and they are an absolute blast to be around in person.
I just remember the story of when the fans snuck onto the lot and put the I Love Star Trek.
That was
bumpers.
Bajo. That was Bajo
Um,
Trimble that did that. She snuck into a limo, if I'm remembering the story from the Star Trek Memories thing right. She snuck into a limo that was open at the guard gate, and she was led into the lot and she took all the stickers and stuck them all over the cars and she snuck into the building. Am I getting the story right?
That sounds right to me. It's been a while since I read the book that had that in it.
And she snuck into the building and handed out things on every floor because nobody questioned she was there. Because this is before they had like huge security, huge IDs and all that. And just, oh, Bajot is so freaking lovely to be around. I met her and her husband at the 50th anniversary Star Trek Las Vegas convention. They had hung around, they had come to setup day to see what we were doing. And I was outside in the hallway taking a break. And then I saw them, and when they said their names, I'm like, oh my God, you're Star Trek royalty. And they're like so excited. And we took a picture, and I still have that. And they literally came to my booth every single day and hung out a bit. And when on the Sunday night, on the Sunday night, they came and gave me a hug and a signed photo. And oh, they're so amazing.
That is so awesome. Well, in Leonard Nimoy's book, he tells the story about how he had, no, I don't think it was his book. I think it was somebody talking about him. Anyway, he hired an assistant, but the trailers were getting hot and they would not pay for air conditioning for the trailers.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess they had taken a break or whatever, and he went in there and his poor assistant was just drenched in sweat. So he splashed a cup of water on her, told her to lay on the floor, had him call 911, and by the end of the day, he had an air conditioning unit in his trailer.
Oh, Leonard Nimoy was very good about taking care of his people and his castmates. Like in the animated series, I believe, I don't know how accurate I will get this story. I believe that George and Nichelle were not asked to reprise their roles, and Leonard's like, I'm not going to do it. If you don't ask them to come back, I'm not going to do it. I believe that's how the story went, right?
I don't remember which actors it was, but
it was
yeah.
George and Nichelle that were not asked to reprise their roles, their voice roles, and Leonard's like, if you don't ask them back, I'm not going to do it.
And they needed Spock.
I think that's what it said. Sorry, go ahead.
I just remember in Nichelle's book, she was so frustrated and she was ready to quit the show. And Dr. Martin Luther King convinced her that she was a role model for the African American community, for women everywhere, and convinced her that she needed to stick it out. And I'm so glad she did.
Well, that's why Whoopi Goldberg got into like wanting to act and stuff, because I believe she told her mama, there's a Black woman on TV and she ain't no maid. That's right from her biography, if I remember.
Well, I've heard her say that in an interview too. So, but a lot of actors and actresses have pointed back to that as a moment where they realized, hey, I can do something with this. I can be successful with this. And I think that's great.
Like Whoopi, oh gosh, Whoopi is a queen. Like, she struggled. I've read her book. I've read that huge those biographies she's written. I've read most of them, and she's an amazing actress. I'm glad that she.
I've not read hers.
Oh, it's a huge biography.
I've seen some interviews with her though.
Maybe I'm just a bookworm. That's okay.
Oh, I mean, I used to be. Like, I had George Takei's. Bill Shatner's was not an autobiography. It was a biography. But yeah, I read a lot of them. So.
Yeah, I mean, history is important, and preserving history is even more important. And this episode was about preserving history, and I think it's good that we picked this. I mean, it fits into the theme that I picked for this month, which is time travel. Yes, I'm very big into themes. Yeah, so they saved the day. Like, they found Dax and Sisko figured out to go into the storage compartment, and they beamed the bomb out.
I know. And I couldn't help but think this time, because I was like thinking, I was trying to find some bit that I maybe missed before. You know, what if the one with the bomb had fallen when Kirk opened the door?
Oh gosh, then it would have.
We would have been screwed.
Yeah, I
But
was kind of thinking that too.
It
but
would have
it's a
been.
TV show.
Would have been turned into some dystopian Star Trek of gods and men type thing. I don't know if you've ever seen that. It was a thing produced by James Cawley that involved a lot of the original series era actors. It's available on the internet.
Yeah, I haven't. People have suggested other things to watch, but I don't want to start something new right now. So,
Oh well, it's out there when you're ready.
but I love Deep Space Nine so much because I do have so many episodes like memorized. So it's like a comforting thing.
That is a comforting thing. I'm pleased
I
and
know what's
impressed.
gonna happen. So even if like the episode is one of those where things get hairy, I know what's gonna happen. So I like that. It's a comfort for me anyway.
I think it's a comfort for a lot of people, Star Trek. I mean, Star Trek can help people get through a lot of difficult times. And, I didn't know this till recently. My mother swears that we used to watch Star Trek back when I was young. I mean, this was around the time of The Next Generation. She swears that we used to watch it as a family back on this street that we lived in, High River 8th Street, in this house that we rented as a family. She swears we used to watch it on television. I don't remember this, but my mom swears that we
Definitely
did.
remember watching it as a teenager. So, because that was really the first Trek that I really was into, So I love that. And then the Voyager was next for me. Because our local TV stations didn't play Deep Space Nine. I didn't get to watch that unless I was at somebody else's house. So it was way after that I actually got to go back and start at the beginning and watch all the way through.
Mm.
So yeah, it was the opposite for me. I didn't. So our local station was CBS only, so they didn't have access to the UPN programming. So I didn't get to see Voyager until way after. I think the first Voyager episode I saw was actually on the same Borg set that the first Enterprise episode I'd seen. Because I had bought a Borg set and had like Enterprise and TNG and Voyager, and that was like the first Voyager episode I ever seen. That was back 2006, 2007, I think.
See, for me, when Voyager was on the air, there was a Star Trek club not too far from where we lived. So I was the only kid in the club, but they really took me under their wing, and it was great. We watched all the new episodes together, and one of the couples that met through the Star Trek club actually had their wedding was a Klingon wedding in Vegas at the Star Trek experience. So
It's amazing.
I wish I could have gone to that, but I was a little young. My parents didn't want me traveling that far.
Yeah.
I mean, to send your teenage girl on the way to Vegas with a bunch of adults that you don't really know that well. Oh, jeez.
But you know, it's about beautiful history, and it's moments like this, just still like being able to gather together over our love of Star Trek, our common love of Star Trek, that keeps the history alive, and it's wonderful.
Well, I mean, I think it's great because as a teenager, I wasn't popular by any means. I was overweight. I was kind of nerdy. I like my Star Trek stuff and cooking and canning and, growing vegetables and making jelly and stuff. I was not typical for my age. So being able to bond with other people that like Star Trek really gave me my group of people.
Yeah, I get it.
It was a safe place,
Mm-hmm.
we really did bond over Star Trek. And I feel like I learned a lot of life lessons from Star Trek that I wasn't going to learn in the neighborhood I grew up in.
Yeah. For many,
So,
Star Trek is a safe place, and it should always be a safe place. And we as fans should help Star Trek to be a safe place for each other, so that people will want to stay part of the fandom, you know?
oh yeah, definitely. Well, I just remember back to, just being a teenager. And like I said, I wasn't popular. I wasn't, the pretty girl or anything like that. I wasn't the cheerleader type or athletic. So it really gave me something to be a hobby other than, making my jelly and canning stuff for the state fair.
Mm-hmm.
Because, hey, I was a nerd. I won first place for several years in a row at county and state on my fruit jelly, especially my grape jelly, because Daddy grew the grapes, man. It's easy.
Hey, that's amazing.
I
You
loved
can
it.
can. That's more than I can do, and that's amazing. You can can your stuff, and then you can use your stuff when you need it. That's amazing. That's a skill of self-reliance. Don't be ashamed of that.
Oh, I'm not ashamed. I was awfully proud of it, man. Which is probably why they thought I was a nerd, because I got so
Oh,
excited. But
well, high school is the place where the jocks think they rule, and if you're not a jock, well, you're
mm,
not cool to anyone else. But that's a fallacy. You're cool in what you do because you're there trying your best, and that's what people should think.
well, I mean, I grew up in Oklahoma, and Oklahoma has always been a few years behind everybody else as far as like technology and that kind of stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
growing up, I mean, that's what we did. We made butter, we canned, we grew a huge garden, um, blackberry bushes, grapevines. Daddy had all kinds of fruit trees, and we made jellies and pies, and I mean, we all won prizes off of that awesome garden and fruit trees. And I'm gonna miss those trees. We lost a bunch of them a couple winters ago because we had almost 3 solid weeks where it was under 0 degrees.
Oh
So we
no.
lost a lot of. I know, it was crazy. I thought I was gonna die. I thought I
Oh
was gonna.
no.
I really did, because I've always had this problem because I'm anemic most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
When I get cold, it takes days for me to get warm. So when you've got an extended period of time like that, it was no fun. But we lost trees that my grandpa planted. I mean, we're talking trees that were like 70 years old.
Mm.
I know. I cried over those trees too. Grown ass woman, and I was crying over those fruit trees.
I don't care if you're a grown woman. That's history to you. If you lose history, it's okay to cry. It's okay.
The pecan tree is over 100 years old. My grandpa planted that when he was a young man. So not sure exactly how old he was when he planted it, but I know it's over 100 years old. And man, that was the thing when we were kids. We went out there and we had races to see how many pecans we could get. We made all kinds of candy and pies and stuff that you'd never be able to afford if you had to pay for the nuts. And it's dying. That makes me sad. I wish I could go back in time and tell him to plant more than one tree. We need
Right.
lots of pecan trees, Grandpa.
You could go back in time and steal, a little seedling or something, or part of the tree that you
Well,
could plant more trees. Future.
Mama's got me some seedlings saved. So she did save me some seedlings. But
Mm.
oh well. I
You're
would have liked
making
to go back in time and meet my grandpa. I never got to meet him. He died when he died the year my dad graduated from high school. And then he went off to Vietnam. So yep. Never got to meet him.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you know. But it
You're
was
making me think of a part of Star Trek 4 that was never filmed or included. Like, there was actually to lighten the mood a bit. I remember reading somewhere that there was supposed to be a scene where Sula was supposed to meet his own like great grandfather or grandfather or something like that, but they couldn't get the kid to stop crying.
I feel like I heard that somewhere. I need to go back and reread the books that I read because they're distant memories at this point.
Yeah. And just as as you were talking about your seedlings and stuff, I was thinking, oh, to be able to go back in time and save something and bring it to a future point so that, a little bit of the past is in the future and keeping chaos from happening. That's kind of what Star Trek 4 was about.
I just love my dialysis group has posted the meme of Dr. McCoy giving the pill to the lady that was on dialysis. So even a group that's not got anything to do with Star Trek has posted that meme several times. So I think that's kind of cool. But
Wow.
it's a dream for us to think that, at some point in the future, on Deep Space Nine, how many times did Dr. Bashir grow a new heart or kidney or lung to transplant in someone? So as somebody who needs a transplant, that's just kind of
Well, hopefully there will come a time where people will just be able to grow new organs and there won't be a need for dialysis or pain or transplants or all the ugly, sorrowful, painful things that come with these types of illnesses. It's quite scary, the uncertainty that comes with those types of illnesses where you risk organs and life, and isn't it?
yeah. But that's like a hope for the future kind of thing. So
Mm-hmm.
hey Alex, I really need my blanket because it is really cold in here.
And Teresa, since you brought up the McCoy kidney thing, I'd like to tell you that we're watching that later this month. You and Jake, I'd like to tell you both that.
Oh,
We are
cool.
watching The Voyage Home.
All right.
That is scheduled for March 25th as of now.
Man, I'll be in a hospital.
Oh, really?
I'm having my surgery on the 23rd, so yeah, I'll still
Well,
be
what
there.
can we do for you to? Would you like us to switch things around so you can be there?
No,
We
no.
can.
I mean, my hope is that I'll still be able to watch it, but we'll see.
Would you like us to switch things around for you so you can be there? We can. I can do that.
You get some pull, huh?
Would you like me to do that?
As of right now, no, because I should be recovered enough to participate somewhat.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I think so. I hope so.
Well, why don't you
mean,
think about it and let me know?
That'll be several days post surgery, and so they're going to keep me longer than they would normally for this type of a surgery, just because I also have heart failure and I am on dialysis.
Oh,
But
goodness.
yeah, that's okay. I'll live. I actually don't mind it too much. I don't love being in the hospital, but I do at least get some sleep.
Hmm.
So,
All right, well, you think about it and you let me know. And if you want to see it earlier than your surgery, you let me know. We'll make it work.
okay.
And Heather switched things around for me. So
I switch things around for everybody.
yeah. So it's not a big deal.
Well, I'm going to be in the hospital and doing dialysis in the hospital. So I'll have a good 4.5 hours a day that I just sit in a chair. So it'll give me something to do.
Okay, well, let's keep in touch about that. See how you feel. Okay.
I typically, when I'm in the hospital long term like that, I take naps all through the day.
All right. So we'll just keep it as it is for now. But if you feel like you want to change it, you tell me. And you know what? I think it's getting late and I think we're getting tired and I think we need to have a good rest. Am I right? I think we need to have a good rest.
I'm gonna try.
Yeah, I'm glad we were able to get together and talk about this beautiful episode and using time travel to save lives. Does anybody have closing thoughts?
No, I can't think of anything. I think my brain shut off a little while ago.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Let it shut off. You're going to bed. You're going to bed and you're going to sleep and dream and be happy.
I hope so.
And stay warm.
Oh man, I'm about to turn the room heater back on. I
Then
didn't want to
do
have
it.
it because it can get loud, but yeah. And he's got a blanket and a dryer for me, so I will
Oh, that's
bundle
good of
them.
him.
Yeah.
How about you, Jake? Anything?
I've got nothing.
All right, then I'm just going to let y'all go and live long and prosper. Be safe.
You too.
Take care.
Take care.
Good night.
Good night.